read somewhere that flowers blossom for their own joy. I've been thinking lately about how important it is to do things that bring joy in your life and to move you forward one step at a time towards your dreams. 6 years ago, I was living in Guatemala with my partner and our 2 kids. We had a lot of really good things happening there, but I was feeling like something was missing. I was dreaming of living on a bigger piece of land, growing food to feed our family, and being able to connect with nature on a daily basis. Now we're living on a farm. We've got sheep and pastures big enough to feed them. We've got a big garden that provides enough food for our family and enough garden space to carve out a small business that's rooted in our values, so to speak. I've been thinking of how important it is to take steps to make your dreams come true. If I had just sat there and not done anything, then we wouldn't be here now. Moving back to Canada was a huge thing for us. I'm Canadian and I'd been living in Guatemala for 8 years. I met my partner there, we were raising our kids there, we had a good life, we were settled. And so moving back to Canada, that felt like a big risk to us, to me especially. We didn't have big savings, we didn't have a secure job lined up, and Canada is expensive. Change can be scary, especially when you're caring for young children. But I felt called, and we both shared that dream, and so we took the steps to make that happen. We landed in a city for a very short while, and then we moved out into the country. I have to say that living in a rural area did not solve all my problems, and it certainly created new ones. But it did allow me to live my life how I wanted, even if that way of life is different from most people. Living here has allowed me to do what makes me truly happy, the little experiences and joys of what I guess people call simple living. Baking my own bread and growing our own food to feed our family, taking care of a herd of sheep, that kind of thing, and being surrounded by nature. That being said, I don't think that living on a farm or having a homestead or doing the things associated with simple living are actually really simple. I think that it requires a lot of effort. There's going to be a lot of failures and things are often not going to work out like you were hoping they would. But there's also a deep kind of satisfaction that comes from this way of life. It's gratifying to make meals from your own veggies and to learn how to bake or, get your eggs from your own chickens. Although people often prioritize the ability to travel the world, I've found that getting to know one place really well has been deeply gratifying. I find that there is long-lasting fulfillment that can be found from learning new skills and becoming familiar with the land around you. It brings a special kind of connection to the land and to your food and to the rhythms of the season. It's not to say that it's easy though. Living on a farm does come with its fair share of challenges. I'll give you an example. So we grow vegetables and flowers for seeds, and then we sell those to organic seed companies. Well, last year we grew too much sweet corn. We husked it, we shucked it, and then we ended up with buckets and buckets of dried corn kernels, and it was just too much for the seed company that we work with. But we also got a grain mill last year as a gift, and so I've been grinding corn to make cornbread. I make it all the time. It's a great snack for the kids. And it's definitely a good feeling to know that we can have as much cornbread as we want. In the summertime, I feel that time feels both slow and fast. Some days feel stretched out and wide, and it's like so hot you can hardly do anything. You feel like you've got all the time in the world, and then suddenly it's like July or it's August, and boom, the garden is overgrown and the pantry's half empty and it's time to fill it up, and another season is like halfway gone, and then you're just catching up your breath from the last one. So it's this kind of interesting back and forth between stillness and time slipping away too quickly. So it's really good to slow down and enjoy it while it's happening. Before making the big move to Canada, I spent a lot of time wondering if this kind of life was just a dream. I just couldn't see how we would get from point A to point B. But I think that if you have a dream and then you take actionable steps towards it, then that's how you make it happen. And you just gotta keep moving forward towards that dream, even when it's hard. For example, when we finally decided to move here to make this big blind leap from one life to another, we packed up our things, we stepped on the plane, and then one of my daughters got really sick. She had E. coli and this horrible flu at the same time. And so the flight, which was, in my dreams, it was this symbolic transition between one life and the other, it actually ended up being really difficult. It's interesting how right when you're about to take a crucial step towards your dreams, life happens. But I remind myself in those moments, I think of a poppy or really any flower that's blooming for its own joy, not because it's being celebrated or for any reason other than because it's just in its nature to do so. And if you're moving towards something that feels like it's in the right direction, then just keep moving forward. I hope that this video brought you a little bit of encouragement. I'm not offering solutions to anyone's problems. I'm just sharing a little bit about my experience of having a dream of living off the land, so to say, living in a way that's focused on consuming less and noticing all the beauty that's out there. There's so much beauty in the world, and although we can recognize all the issues happening in the world at large, I think it's also important to really see what's right in front of us. We just have to remember to look. So here at our farm, Luna Mia Farm, we grow vegetables and flowers for seeds, and recently we had to cut a bunch of poppies because they were this beautiful pink poppy that had popped up. But we had sown them last year and they were not the variety that we were growing this year, and so we had to cut them all so that they don't cross-pollinate. And this got me thinking a lot about sort of the fleeting nature of beauty and basically of everything in life. And it got me also thinking about like what people call the simple life and kind of like romanticizing life on the farm. And the reality of life on the farm is actually quite difficult a lot of the times, and there's a lot of messiness and a lot of things that go wrong that you have to deal with. But there are also quite a lot of these beautiful moments. And, I put all these poppies in little vases around the house on the windowsills, and I was so, happy to have them all. And yet the very next day, they were already wilted. So that kind of just got me thinking that beauty doesn't last. But it is there, right? I don't think there's such a thing as a simple life, because life is just too complicated for that. But I do think that there are simple moments. If we can just slow down and pay attention to them, then that's what makes life really beautiful.